There's lots of retirees who are moving here because it's hard on their joints to live in the Midwest, stuff like that. Whatever. There's always new people coming. There's a new baby born every day. There's a new 18-year-old every day. There's somebody who turns 18, who maybe wants to do business or maybe wants to have their own show. There's tons of people. Whatever. There's hardly any jewelry ladies here. Plus, we move away. Jewelry ladies move away.
Yeah, I've used the high turnover rate
Yeah.
and said, well, in the last and. This was like a month or so ago, but in the last 6 months, we've lost 5 or 6 jewelry ladies.
Yeah.
Good jewelry ladies.
Yeah.
That were
active.
At really working their business.
And I always tell them, I really like all those examples, Nikki. Write those down for me, even though those are your notes. Write them down on my notes.
Paper.
Here. Because I really like, I use a couple of those examples, but definitely not that many. And I liked all of those examples that you use. People turning 18,
that's
older
good.
people moving in, all of that. That's really good. That's good because I use a couple, but not that many. But I think it's good. I usually go more towards the, the turnover and the people and stuff. But I think it's then I almost feel like after I say that I need to apologize. Like I need to say, oh well, not that we would need them to move away, because then it's almost like you're suggesting, well, we're only going to stay afloat if people keep moving away.
Right.
So it's all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's better to keep it more on the positive of there's always going to be people who can keep doing shows.
I also I get injured.
Okay. I also I do tell them honestly how many jewelers there are, and I say as of right now, there's about 10 active jewelers in town, which is pretty accurate.
That's not very many.
No,
No.
it's not.
Because Target and
probably
Walmart and all those places
Exactly.
are still selling jewelry.
Exactly.
And as long as they're still selling jewelry, we're not oversaturated, right?
This is what I say. This is because I had this question at my last one. She said, and she's a daycare worker at the gym. And I go to the gym almost every day. And I know Alicia also goes there, Letitia also goes there. So to her, a lot of times too, you have to consider who they are. It depends on the person and what their experience with Premier is. Because if it's a hostess who knew Sarah Ripley and then also knew Gayla and knows you and maybe knows Nikki or knows 4 or 5 jewelry ladies in her circle, in her world, that's going to seem like, wow, there's tons of these ladies around here, And so kind of get them thinking outside of that box. You say, well, you just happen to know 4 of us, but there's only 10 in town. Kind of get them thinking about that too, because that's what I said to her too. I said, you just know 3 of us, but there's only 10, But what I also said to her objection or her, question of that, as I said, I talked about people moving in and out, and I said, I personally am fortunate that I've been on both sides of the coin here, because I was pretty much the first person that came into town, that brought Premier into town 3 years ago. So I've seen it both ways, and back 3 years ago when I first started doing shows, sorry, I was itching my nose.
Yeah, that's because I
Okay,
just
done.
blew mine. And
I know.
now you're
Sorry,
like
you gotta get that over with.
self-conscious.
Okay, done. Okay. So when I was first here and I was doing shows, no one had ever heard of it, and that was exciting in a way. And I was bringing it here, and no one at my shows had ever heard of it. Every show, I would say, how many of you here have heard of Premier? And no one ever. Now, 3 years later, I would say it's about half, sometimes a little less, but usually not more than half. There's usually a couple people at your shows, or about half the people that have never heard of Premier before. And I can honestly say, that it is better this way. I prefer it this way, because what's happening is when you have people that are coming into your shows, half those people have been to a show before. They're obviously happy returning customers. We have a guarantee to back our jewelry. We have a phenomenal product. We have it replenishes every 6 months. We have new things. We have people. Not everyone can come in and afford to buy an entire set. A lot of people will book shows. Not everyone will always book shows. Some people prefer to just stay a customer. So they're going to come, and they're going to come next time and buy the bracelet, and then they're going to want the watch, and then they're going to want the earrings, and they're going to keep coming. So I say I'm fortunate that I've seen both sides of it, and I really honestly can tell you that I prefer it this way. It is better this way. Our name is getting out there. We have a good reputation. We have wonderful jewelry ladies out there that are upholding this reputation, that have already kind of laid that groundwork for you, and that's a good thing to say to people too. That's why I tell them, I say, you've had people going ahead of you for 3 years now, laying this groundwork of establishing this reputation. You can walk into that sort of environment. You can walk into the reputation that
You
we've
don't have
laid.
to prove it.
Exactly. You don't have to prove it to people. So that's another thing that I said to her too. So, but that one, I do get that one a lot. And I think it's a legitimate question on people's minds. And of course it does depend on how many people they know, because the next one-on-one that I did, the show that she came to, she had never heard of Premiere before. She's lived here for like 3 years, lived right next door to my hostess. I guess she just didn't invite her last time, I don't know. But she had never heard of Premiere. And to her, that wasn't even a question.
Right.
It's such a matter of perspective too. It depends on who you're talking to. But I think that is one that you have to come across very confidently on that question. And so you kind of have to ask yourself, how much do I believe that? Do you really believe it? Do you really believe there's a lot of opportunity here for all of us? And I love the way that Joni put it too, of how big is your world? Are you willing to? I think there's plenty of business for us in Sierra Vista. I don't think we have to go elsewhere. I think we're all fine. I think we can sponsor confidently. We can have confidence that we have enough shows to do. There's new people. Those of us that have been here for a while, we have old people we can always call. New people have new people that they can find. It's a matter of perspective and really just hard work. And going back to the question of, if people say they don't know people, I say, well, then you are going to have to work a little harder. I'm very honest with them that you're going to have to work a little harder. I had to. I didn't know very many people, and I had to get out there, and I had to get out of my comfort zone, and I had to do some things that were uncomfortable to me, and I'm so glad that I did, because now I have a better business, I have more confidence, and I kind of go into that with them a little bit too. But yeah, I really like the way that Joni addressed that with the whole, how big is your world? Like, if you feel like there aren't enough shows for you in Sierra Vista, then maybe it's time for you to get out of that comfort zone. Maybe you need to start hitting Target and Walmart a little bit more, because sometimes I think the longer that we're in, we can become sort of comfortable, and we can kind of fall into our little...
Very comfortable.
Yeah. And once you're comfortable is usually the time when you need to get out. You need to get out there a little bit. And I've been forced into the place of no bookings several times. And it's always because I'm not doing something that I need to do. It's because I'm too comfortable, or I'm not. It's always a good learning lesson for me, because I can't blame anyone but myself when I get myself in that situation. I think, you know what? I haven't been making my calls. I haven't been replacing my shows when I lose one. I haven't been doing this, I always know exactly what I haven't been doing. So I can't be mad at anyone. I can't be mad at my sponsor. I can't be mad at Premiere. I can't be mad at anyone but myself. And then I get on the phone and cry. Cry and then get on the phone. Okay, so anyway, does anyone have anything to add to the saturation question issue? We are, not always, but if I think of it, if I remember it, I will say at my shows, ladies, we're down to about 8 active jewelers right now. A couple new people have been sponsored, so kind of wait and see what happens exactly. See how active they're going to be, because sometimes people people don't really get off too much of a start, or some people that are in it just for more of the relationships or whatever will never do a ton of shows, and that's okay. They're fabulous. We love them, and they come to trainings and stuff, and we hang out and whatever. But as far as jewelers who are consistently actively holding, I would say at least 3 or 4 shows a month, there's only about 8 in town now. We were up to 25 at one point.
Wow.
Only a year and a half ago. The fall that Sarah Ripley sponsored, and made 4th in the nation, or in the region for sponsoring. We were up to 25 jewelers, active jewelers. Everyone was out there doing shows in Sierra Vista.
Wow.
And still, I have never.
Back then, I ran into people less than I do
No,
now.
I know. I have never run into you. I don't think I've ever run into you. I've run into Jen a couple times, because we had circles before Premiere. I've run into Jen a couple times. Lisa Thompson once. Lisa Lee once.
And by that she means people that come.
Yeah,
to a
people
show
that come to a show
that they someone else's show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 3 years of all these time and all these different jewelers and stuff, honestly, that's all I have not bumped into. So, I think it's something that comes up. Sometimes it's on our mind. Sometimes we get when we start to think about it, we start to get a little. I think you can get a little stressed out about it.